Welcome back, everybody. All right, so now that we have Blender installed, we have this little scene here. And if you haven't taken the 1 hour Blender tutorial series, I suggest you do that. The reason is that it explains everything that I'm doing, everything from moving around, etc., to extruding vertices, etc. So we're going to make a simple sword here. And now in Blender, the way it works is that you start off with a primitive, and you can see that there's all these different kinds of primitives here. And what we do is we modify that from the primitive right there. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to do actually, we're going to scale this cube and we're going to scale this along the y-axis. So push S then Y, or we can scale it along the x-axis like that, and maybe scale it along the x just like that, and maybe we can scale it along the z-axis. So this is going to be the handle of the sword right here. So I think that actually looks pretty good. I'm going to tab into edit mode and I'm just going to move around here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to tools and I'm going to go loop cut and slide, and I'm just going to simply click that here and right click, and what that does is that brings it right in the center here. Okay, I'm going to select all these vertices with the shift and right click here, and I'm going to push X, and I'm going to go and delete those vertices. Now you're probably thinking, why do we do this? Well, there's a very good reason, and we're going to go over to the modifier here, and it's that little wrench, and we're going to go to add a mirror modifier, and we're going to click the Y axis, and what this does is you can see here that if I move one of these vertices, the other one follows, right? And so what this does is that this is a mirror modifier, and this mirror modifier will mimic everything, and it's actually extremely good that we do this here. Now let's go ahead and let's actually make this sword. This should be pretty simple to do. I'm just going to go and I'm going to add another loop cut here, and we'll make this sword a little bit bigger, something like that. Let's hop into face select mode, and I'm going to simply push E to extrude, and we have this here. Now I should point out, it looks like there are two different faces here, but when I tab into edit mode or object mode, you can see that it's only one here. This mirror mode is simply just for editing purposes here, okay? So I'm going to go, and I think that actually looks pretty good here. And I'm going to hop into the edge select mode, and I'm going to simply move this up here and give this sword a nice little point. It's pretty simple. Now I can actually go and click these here, and I can move them in a bit like this if I want to, and that actually looks pretty good. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to just undo that for a second, is I'm going to add another loop cut here, and I'm just going to add in a loop cut just like this, so it gives it a little bit of a buffer. Okay, let's hop back into edge select mode. I'm just going to simply move that in. You can see that that looks quite a bit different here. And if we really want to do the same thing, let's hop into loop cut here, and we are going to do a loop cut along this side here, so we have another little buffer here. Now again, you're probably going to be using this in some kind of interactive environment like games or something like that, and if you do that, I think it's actually great, but you want to make them as low poly as possible, that is less amount of detail. The reason is that games don't actually have quite a lot of detail in them. However, if you're making this for a movie, you do want to have much more detail. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to actually push 1 on the numpad, and I'm going to select both of these two here, and I'm just going to simply move this in to something about the center like that, and I'm going to do the exact same here, and I'm just going to simply move it in like that. Make sure they don't cross, but as you can see here, that actually works out quite well, and we have this nice little point to the sword here. Now we can do kind of something similar to the bottom here. Let's just kind of zoom in here, and let's go, and we can actually shift click this edge and this edge. We can move it in like that, and we'll go ahead and push 1 on the numpad, and yeah, I'll just kind of move it to around the same and select these two, make sure they're actually selected. Alright, push 1 again on the numpad, and we can kind of do that here, and that actually looks pretty cool. Now let's go ahead and let's do this to the handle. Let's hop into face select mode, and we're going to push E to extrude, and then I'm going to go, and normally we would scale this in like that, but what I'm going to do instead actually is I'm just going to kind of move this in here, and that gives us something a little bit cooler here. Now what we can also do, if we really want to, if we think that this is too much, we can actually just move this in like that there. That looks pretty good, and I think I'll move this in just a bit, and I'll move this in a bit too. Nothing too complicated here. I'm going to put into face select mode, push E to extrude, and then I'm going to scale that out. I would normally scale it out, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this out a bit, move this out a bit, and move this out a bit. And then I'm going to push E to extrude again, and that's going to be our kind of the stub here. And I will just push, I think that's probably pretty good. I'm just going to push E to extrude again, and then in this case I'm just going to move this in, move this in, and then move this in as well. There we go. And so here we go. We have a nice little sword here. I think that looks actually pretty good. And I'm going to tab in object mode, and I'm going to push apply. And now once you push apply to the mirror modifier, you see that it does apply that here. Okay, and for the most part, if you undo that, you can see that the modifier goes away. But not to worry, we can just add in that mirror modifier again, and you can see that it is exactly the same. And so there you go. You got a simple sword. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.